Hi everyone, it's Nadia and Jake, and today we're going to be talking about an old timer.
Old timer?
It's an old timer.
I
Jaws! I never watched before last night, and you watched several times before.
Before we get into this, she's never seen Jaws. I've always wanted her to see Jaws. Oh, like forever. Because it's one of my favorite movies. I think it's basically a perfect movie. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. You refused to see it. And it kind of made sense to me because it's like a horror movie. It's about shark, animal, death, and all that stuff, you know, and
I don't like that.
No. So I was like, all right, that's fine. You don't have to watch it. But this week came along. Let's see, I think it's the 50th anniversary of Jaws. We didn't really have anything else to go see this week in our theater. So I was like, let's just watch Jaws and see how you feel about it. And surprisingly, you said yes. So why did you say yes to watching Jaws?
I'm sleep deprived.
All right. It was funny because we watched this at home and we had to be very quiet because our baby was sleeping. So you couldn't really express yourself as you usually might by, I don't know, screaming, that sort of thing.
Pinching your arm really hard, giving you bruises.
I just want to get straight into it. Let's stop waiting. What did you think of the movie?
This is interesting because I know how you feel about the film.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that you keep watching about it. You say this is one of the best.
It's objectively one of the best movies ever.
Okay. I'm gonna get a lot of backlash about this. It was fine.
Okay.
It was mediocre.
Okay.
No, I would give it like 7 out of 10.
Wow, that's like a 2 out of 10 from you.
No, it's not.
That's like 7 out of 10 is like a C because you go by grade system. That's like
it's a C.
That's like you're close to getting a D on that paper.
75%.
All right. So, what is your critique of the famous and beloved Jaws? And then I'll mount my defense after you do this.
Well, first of all, I looked up the history of it after we watched the film this morning. Apparently, shark like fishing and cruelty kind of went up after the thing, and
Big
Steven
time.
Spielberg says he regrets that. And also, this is the film that got Steven Spielberg on the map as well. It won multiple Oscars.
He wasn't nominated for Best Director, but it was like the highest grossing movie ever.
It put him on a map in a different level.
In a huge way. He was 28 when this movie came out.
Wow.
And then he followed this up with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Yeah. Which was another smash success.
I love E.T. The biggest thing that I love from Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, E.T. was a little later. It was in the 80s. But he had he had a big flop after Jaws and Close Encounters. He made the movie 1941. I don't know if you heard of that. But it was like
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It was a big comedy that was a huge failure. I've actually never seen it. Then he made Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and all that. So, and E.T., of course, which was even more successful than Jaws. But I can just info dump about Jaws because as a kid, I learned about movies by watching all of the extensive special features on our Jaws, probably 25th anniversary DVD or whatever. So I'm obsessed with how the movie was made, all of the behind the scenes stuff. But seeing it through fresh adult eyes, your adult eyes, was kind of like, I wonder if this is working during certain scenes, because it's like Jaws has been so iterated upon over the years. There have been so many Jaws clones. The language of Jaws, of pop blockbuster filmmaking, has been done over and over and over and over again. Maybe it just doesn't feel as exciting or fresh. I think that it still does. I think the movie holds up very well.
Here's the thing. I understand the idea of how this movie was great for its time. I have seen a lot of similar remakes and similar ideas, since then, and I feel like a lot of what's happening in Jaws, it doesn't hold that much weight to me because I've seen the other people who try to remake something similar happen, and that's very unfair of me to kind of go into this movie that way, because obviously Jaws was one of the original movies that made it the way it did based on a book. Nonetheless, that is how I feel about it, and I can't be objective because I do have biases. However, with that being said, there is something gravitating about this film. I think it's really hard to watch in the beginning because, I don't know, I still want to go into non-spoiler right now, just because there might be people like me who are watching this review who haven't seen it even though this movie's been out. But there is a couple of events it's hard to watch. You just I'm really rooting for one of the characters to die. Obviously, they want it that way because it's...
So you're complaining that it was an effective thriller?
No, I don't think it's an effective... I mean, yes, it's an effective thriller, which is why I give it 7 out of 10. The reason why I also give it 7 out of 10 and not like 9 out of 10 or something like that is because it's very obvious what's going to happen without me watching the film. And it's like very convenient. The decisions are very convenient. It reminds me of like, this is like a very loose comparison, but it just reminds me of like in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, where Hagrid keeps like giving away what is going to happen, all that stuff, and then his thing is, I should not have said that, I should not have said that, I should not
When
have
are
said
there
that.
any instances in this movie that are like that? Like, I get could be some plot conveniences, but there really is, like, I guess maybe the way the shark behaves is very unrealistic, but it's like a monster. It's a monster.
I can't answer that question because we're in the non-spoiler section.
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah,
but,
ask me that again in the spoiler section and I'll let you know.
Okay. Part of what is so significant about Jaws culturally, but also in terms of like this era of filmmaking, was that like in the 70s there was a huge shift towards like more gritty, realistic, downbeat types of movies. Robert Altman making movies, John Cassavetes. I mean, a lot of American independent films are dark, but also studio films. Easy Rider kind of ushered in a whole different type of movie. But Steven Spielberg and also George Lucas around the same time with Star Wars, turning B-movie concepts into A-movie pictures. They were taking schlocky pulp fun of their childhood, and for Steven Spielberg it was like monster movies, classic monster movies that you'd watch, and he turned like a classic monster movie into this big, gigantic, incredibly well done epic story, like a special effects showcase, but also like a Hitchcockian like craft. Like it's just very like manipulative in a way that I think audiences hadn't been exposed to, because the filmmaking is so involving. The editing, the soundtrack. I mean, it's a super engaging movie, and I don't know if I'm like conveying why to me and why like overall people hold this movie in such high regard. You know,
you don't, or you?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm expressing that well or explaining why it's so beloved. Because again, I get why you're saying, oh, it just feels like all these other movies I've seen, but it's like without Jaws, you don't have aliens, you don't have...
No, I understand completely why you like the movie that you like this movie, because of the fact that you saw that and then you understand that aliens and all these other films.
No, but even beyond the influence, I think it's better than the movies that have iterated upon it.
No, but that's the thing. Original is always better, right? In a lot of ways.
I'm not even saying that. I don't even care that if it's original or not. I think like from a shot-by-shot base, scene by scene, like it is tonally perfect. It like the acting is perfect. Like it is just so well done. The filmmaking, the editing choices, the way Steven Spielberg uses the camera, it is like, it's genius. Even watching it again, I'm like, just the scenes of the building the tension of how Brody's sitting on the beach early in the film, watching the people on the water, and the way it cuts between, you know, as people cross in front of the frame.
No, okay, so I do understand everything you're saying about the film.
So is your main complaint just that it was predictable?
No, it's not.
What else? What else was? What else is wrong about this masterpiece?
I feel like Jaws is your wife. No, she's awesome. Don't talk about my wife that way, kind of thing.
I mean, I feel like like this was when I was talking about, what was the recent movie that I didn't really like that? Oh, Caught Stealing. You talked about Caught Stealing the way I'm talking about Jaws.
That was last week. You forgot that already?
Things move faster. Right?
Wow.
You were very protective over Caught Stealing, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like, Caught Stealing? Who cares about Caught Stealing? This is Jaws.
Okay,
This is Jaws.
I feel that same way about Jaws.
What?
I feel like, who cares? No, just kidding.
Okay, but what was wrong? Explain.
Okay, I'll finally explain. I'm having a hard time like voicing my opinions, because when he gets this excited, if I don't like it enough, I will be hearing about it for like a month. So I'm trying to think about how much do I want to really
you dislike so many movies I love, and I'm just I brush it off, because that's just the way it is. I feel like most of the movies that I love that I grew up with, you're just kind of like, it's fine. We've had reviews like this.
Okay, the reason why I give it 7 out of 10, which is a okay review.
It'd be okay if I said 7 out of 10.
Caught Stealing, you gave it an F, basically.
No, I didn't.
You gave it a D.
I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Which is a D. This, with my grade, you could still graduate.
Again, I'm begging you. I'm begging you to tell me what was wrong with the film that you didn't like.
Okay, fine. Since you're begging me.
Should we go to spoilers? Would that help?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do spoilers, everyone. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers.
So I really did like, so, like for example, like when he smashed when they're in the boat and he smashed like the call for help. You know, it's like I
Great
feel like that
moment.
was like. It's funny, but it was like a plot convenience where it's like, yeah, now they're going to be stranded. So that's what I mean when I say like compare it into like Harry Potter in that sense. I love Sorcerer's Stone, by the way. But what I'm trying to say is that there is plot convenience, and that combined with the fact that I've seen similar films, although, like I said, the way I'm viewing it is not fair. I do admit that because I've seen the movies that were inspired by this film being made. I've seen those films first before I've seen like the original film that inspired such films after, but nonetheless in my mind it feels a little repetitive even when it's not originally intended that way, because it's a breakthrough film. I also felt like the shark.
Oh, hold on. Can we address first
Wait, no, I want to say this part because you want my opinion.
I know, but I want to address that specific scene.
No, I want to say that my opinion, that you could address it. So I also thought the shark scenes were drawn out at the end where he was like, okay, like it was fun. Like I really enjoyed like when they were like singing and laughing and everything else, but also like the monologues and you know when they were drunk and having, but also it was just like it was funny, it was stupid funny because they're drunk and like in a life dire situation. It's not realistic, but either way it was funny. I appreciated
of course that's
I appreciated it, but
oh man,
the main two characters, so the main character, the cop and the shark expert, they didn't seem very fazed by this other guy who was like clearly a psychopath or had psychopathic tendencies and was like fine, like dying almost, like made such terrible choices. They were just like fine. They were not like at all deterred by his behavior. They were just like annoyed, but they were like, move on. And then it just made them look stupid. Like the boat was almost ripped apart earlier and they're like, it's fine. It's like, the main guy has never dealt with shark. Like, don't you think he would be a little bit more on alert with this situation? Like, he even said like we're gonna need a bigger boat. But yet he was like fine drinking, and then this guy smashed the help stuff and everything, and he's like, they're acting like nothing happened. Even
pretty sure that scene happens before we're gonna need a bigger boat. No, or before he smashes the radio.
Either way, he was like there was things happening. The shark kept coming back or whatever. I don't remember if it was before or after, but there was just so many things happening that the main character was not as like deterred by it as he should have been. They were all like kind of willy-nilly in this whole this whole journey, and it just felt very unrealistic to me. The things that I enjoyed was when, you know, the shark expert was under the sea and just hid basically there until it's like, I'm gonna let those other two deal with it. It was really funny. There were really funny parts with it, you know, but that was kind of happening throughout the second half of the film, those kind of conveniences, and just like I felt just non-realistic things where it was more caricature of these people rather than like realistic versions of events that was unfolding. I just didn't feel like I was connected to the story as much because of that. I mean, the kid dying was pretty hard, all those things, and I didn't like the part where they had the shark show. But I wasn't rating it 7 out of 10 because of that, because I understand why those things were in the film. But yeah, I just didn't like it because of those second half of the film. I just felt like it was extremely convenient. It was not realistic. It took me away because it felt like there was no survival instinct to the way that it should have been or it would have been. But at the same time, I appreciate the aesthetics of the film. I appreciate what this film did to movies in general. I don't like how it inspired more shark fishing and everything else that it did to the ecosystem, but nonetheless, that's nothing to do with the way that I'm rating this film. Don't feel like I was into it because of what I just raised.
Okay, so can I go back through and address things?
I am done with my review, basically. So
that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
those were the parts. And you wanted me to answer, I answered.
No, that's great. But I do want to have a conversation about, like, earlier you were talking about the radio smashing scene.
Yeah.
And how you felt like that was convenient. I feel like that was completely in character for Quint. That was an escalation of his character perfectly, because the whole time we're seeing a character. It's riffing on Moby Dick, basically. He's Captain Ahab, and it starts off where it's like, okay, we need this guy to kill them. Maybe, and he starts off in the movie, that early scene with the chalkboard.
Yeah.
He's crazy and unhinged, and it's early enough in the crisis where they're like, the whole town is like, okay, we don't really need this intense energy you're bringing here to the party, but we'll consider it, you know. The whole first half of the movie, things are getting worse and building, and they're trying to deny things until perfectly in the midway of the movie, like a perfect screenplay setup, the break of how things, everything breaks. They go, okay, this is a way more serious situation than we think. We're dealing with like a force of nature. We need the crazy guy a little bit of the crazy.
Yeah.
But we also have the dynamics with Brody, who's like a sane person, and the scientist, who kind of relates a little bit to Quint in that they're both obsessed with sharks in a unique way. And I feel like in that dynamic between Quint, who's like the working class guy, and Dreyfuss's character, who is like a rich college boy. They're always riffing on that. That dynamic is so fun to me to watch. But anyways, the scene with the radio is great because it escalates things to the point where there's no return then for them. It's either them or the shark. And Quint, it's perfect for his character. It makes sense for him to do that because he's getting crazier and crazier. And then we get the USS Indianapolis speech where he explains like, oh, this is insanely personal for him. He was in this horrible situation with sharks, so that it's going to be him or the shark. And he's not thinking about it in terms of the community, in terms of protecting the community, in terms of protecting his other people on board. He's thinking solely monomaniacally, Captain Ahab, like, I'm going to kill this shark or it kills me.
Well, he wasn't even like, he was coming out of it in a very revenge, like villainous way, which is what made his death satisfying.
I mean, well, it's at that point you're like, okay, well, you brought it onto yourself, man. I think that's what is so exciting about the tension in the second half of the film, is that seeing that dynamic go on. And also some of your complaints I feel like a lot of your complaints are like, why are they being so stupid? Don't they know it's Jaws? You know, don't they know that's a monster in the water? Like, they're so dumb. Why would they do that? And I get that. I totally get that as a viewer, being like, oh my God, you guys don't realize, like, you're being stupid. You're going to get eaten. It's bad situation. But also in their head, they're still thinking like, this is just a normal fish. We're on a boat. We can kill it.
Okay.
And they don't realize that the shark is going to jump onto the ship. And the shark, that's what's so exciting, is that later in the movie, it's like, this is beyond shark. The shark is smart. The shark knows how to toy with them and is messing with them and going under the boat. And it's like,
well, okay. I feel like because I've seen John Wick first,
what? Is Jaws John Wick?
I feel like Jaws, the shark, is like John Wick.
What?
It is unkillable until like the very last blow. Like, it had to be like, they shot at this guy.
Yeah.
They did all this stuff. And then so in my mind, it's like, that's fucking John Wick, you idiots. Like, what the fuck are you doing drinking?
But that's what's so fun, because you're going, why? You guys don't realize this is like it's a mythical beast. It's not just a shark. And they see
like
the signs, but they're always denying it. The characters are like, there's no way. Okay, it's a 25-foot shark. It's bigger than our ship, but it's just a fit. You know, we're living in reality. No, you're not. You're living in, it's a mythic tale of a guy who's going insane trying to kill. It's like these normal people get caught up in this 19th century mythic story about this guy who wants to kill a shark. And it's like, I
feel like John Wick was inspired by the shark.
I'd be curious to find out.
Like, what if the shark was a human and didn't eat kids?
Did you feel scared?
And dogs.
Did you feel scared in certain scenes?
Yeah.
There were moments though where I know Jaws is so, like, everyone has seen parts of Jaws or clips, but there were scenes where you've been like, where you said in the movie like, oh, I know the shark's going to jump out right here. I know this is what's going to happen. Well, because I've
seen clips.
Exactly.
Like, I've seen web.
I feel like that ruins some of the thrill.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's so hard watching like a film like this that's so old and so loved by a big group of people this late in the game, because it's impossible for you not to have some sort of spoilers. So I'm not going to be able to recreate the, like, I'm not going to be able to have the same relationship with the film that you do, for example, where you watched it before you watched any of the other following films, like Aliens or whatever else, and you understand like the history and you have this love and appreciation for it the way you do. Because for me, the way I understand and what I saw Jaws is like more of the ecosystem, the impact that it had, but also I've seen like, you know, most answered question kind of videos and things like that, where I've seen like certain scenes of a shark expert explain like if sharks behave that way and things like that. Like I've seen those types of videos related to those films, so it's hard for me to have the same understanding, appreciation for it as you do, which is why I'm like completely understand like my rating system may not reflect, it's not like, it's very not objective, it's very biased, and it's probably flawed in many ways. But nonetheless, I'm telling you guys what I really think. And you know, as much as I know I'll get hate for this, I must be true to myself, and thou must be true to thyself. So you rated what?
That, but yeah. I mean, it's 10 out of 10. It's a perfect movie.
Oh my god.
I think...
Okay, that I think is ridiculous. 10 out of 10. It should at least be 9 out of 10, or at the most.
I think it's a perfect movie. There's literally nothing I would change about this.
All right.
I can't think of a single aspect.
Okay.
There are movies that I grew up with where I'm like, yeah, I could see things change. Star Wars. I feel like Star Wars isn't a totally perfect movie, but I think Jaws is like...
Wait, Star Wars 4, 5, 6?
The original Star Wars Episode 4.
What? No, 1, 2, 3 isn't original?
No.
Just kidding.
Like, I don't have time to get into this.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Speaking of, when are you going to watch Andor?
I'm cutting this. We can edit it out.
What? That is so messed up.
Man, I was kind of hoping
Andor is awesome.
I was kind of hoping to nerd out with you about Jaws a little more. I thought
nerd out with yourself.
That sounds wrong, but I'm just gonna go nerd out with myself. What do you want to nerd out about? Did you know that the shark barely worked? It was never functioned. So there were a lot of scenes, especially in the first half of the movie, where they were going to film the shark, but they had to find creative ways to not actually film the shark. You know, like
the actual shark?
Yeah, the mechanical shark. So there were a lot of workarounds, and it kind of made the movie better because you don't actually see the shark for most of the movie. You just see like the tire being dragged by the chain, or you see the barrels, you know, popping in and out. So
that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I can nerd out with you. Tell me more.
Yeah, it makes the suspense like all that heightened, because, and also like the POV shots of the shark underwater. And did you know there's a fake out scene on the 4th of July where every time the shark is around, you get the Jaws thing. You get bana, bana, bana. But in that 4th of July scene, you get the shark POV shot, but there's no music. So it's cueing the audience subtly that the shark isn't actually there. The shark is over in the pond. But
I like that. What else?
You're making fun of me.
No, I think you're really cute. Tell me more. I like listening to you about these things. Tell me more.
I need to find a fan of Jaws to talk about this.
I think
I'm going 99. I'm going to brainwash our son into making this his favorite movie, and then you're going to have to watch it all the time. 95%
of the world, I'm sure, will agree with you about this film.
Yeah.
I just happen to be the rarity.
And that's why I love you. I appreciate your insight. You know?
He says that resentfully.
When I think you're going to zig, you zag. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And we will talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.